Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday webinar for Managing Documents in Windchill. My name is Michael Wimberly, and I will be presenting the webinar today. So for this webinar, of course, we're going to go through and give a general introduction to myself and PDSVISION, go in and introduce just a general overview of managing documents in Windchill. Do, of course, a live demonstration and then take any questions that you may have during that time. And of course, just say thank you at the end. Now, if you do have questions throughout the presentation, there is a section in your GoToWebinar dialog box for questions. So you can type in any questions there. I will be reviewing them as I'm doing them, but more than likely, I will answer your questions at the end of the webinar. But we'll go ahead and get started now. So once again, my name is Michael Wimberly. I've been working for PDSVISION for over 10 years now. I've worked with PTC products for over 25 years now, as well as been in the PTC channel as far as the VAR channel for over 20 years. And I am a certified instructor in both Creo and Windchill, as well as an implementer of both of the softwares. As far as PDSVISION, formerly known as Boundary Systems, for those who have known us for quite a few years, we just changed our name at the beginning of 2022. We are a technology leader because of our merger with PDSVISION. We are PTC's first global reseller and preferred service provider. We, of course, have software solution developer and designer for manufacturing. Our capabilities, of course, include consulting, implementation services, professional training, cloud, as well as help desk. And just a little bit of history on us, as well as the merger with PDSVISION. Boundary Systems started in 2006. PDS was founded in 2008. We became a preferred Windchill partner in 2009. We also then expanded our footprint into South Africa in 2014. In 2018 is when we became a part of the PDSVISION group. And then additionally, PDSVISION also acquired another company called Net inside of Germany. And there are other companies that are associated with PDSVISION. And then, of course, as I mentioned just a moment ago, in 2022, we formally changed our name from Boundary Systems to PDSVISION, basically North America. All right, we have multiple software partners that we work with. Of course, for you all, the main one that we're looking at today is PTC products. But of course, we have Tacton, Modex 3D, Xformation, eTrage, Sigmaxum, ZWCAD, Keyshot, ITI is a company that helps us when we have to go through and develop a piece of software to maybe make one piece of software talk to another piece of software. So they develop that bridge between multiple softwares. And then Symmetrics is also another company. For any detail on any of these additional pieces of software, you can always go to our website to find them, and we have information on the software. And if you need a demo or anything on those, we can also go through and set that up for you too. All right, now going into the documents. So inside of Windchill, the formal name for a document, or as far as Windchill recognizes it, the category is called a WT document. We will still refer to them as just regular document, but the actual name that you'll see when you're referring to them, when you're creating like rules and things like that, will be WT documents. Underneath WT documents, you can go in and create multiple subtypes. So over here on the right side, when we do go through and specify information, we will see, once again, document, which is the WT document type. But underneath there, we can go in and create subtypes for our specifications. So what we're looking at here is underneath the document type, we also have an agenda, we have an approved record, so on and so forth. Minutes, plans, presentations, record. We also have a reference documents, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, and the difference between a reference document and just a regular document. Now, the benefit of having these different document types is, first off, you can go in and have specific or custom attributes for each of those different document types. So there may be an attribute that you want associated with an agenda that doesn't need to be associated with a presentation. So I can have those different attributes inside of Windchill and now associate them to the appropriate document type. We can also go through and create custom life cycles. So maybe the approval process or the lifespan of an object may be different from different document types. So we can have multiple life cycles associated, created and then associated to the appropriate document type. And of course, with all of that, we also have the ability to go through and specify specific access control. So who can see these documents? Not only who can see them, but who's also able to go through and create them. So we may give visibility to these document types, but not everybody's going to have the ability to go through and create them. So we can go through and specify that with our access control as well. Now, when we're going in and taking the different documents that we have and we begin to associate them with WT parts. For those that are familiar with Windchill, that is a Windchill technology part. Inside of Windchill, you'll see it looks like a little gear, and I'll show you a little bit of that in the demonstration. But when we start to go through and associate documents to those WT parts, they come in two categories. They come in as either a described by document or a reference document. Now, a described by document can be any type of document except for a reference document. A reference document is a specific type of document, and that is the next bullet item, is we can go in and create a reference document in that particular area. What's the difference? When you look at those, a described by document is associating the WT part to a specific version of the document. Now, we'll carry it forward if, once again, there isn't a new document that is created, but it is a specific part that is associated to a specific version of that document. With a reference document, it is related to the latest release version of the document. However, if there is no version of the document that is released, then the latest version of the document is displayed. So even when we go through and begin to create them, and once again, I'll show you that inside of the demonstration, we go through and begin to create them, then, excuse me, then what happens is they start at the beginning of that life cycle, which may be in Word, whatever it may be. And because that is the only version of that document, it will be associated, will be shown inside of the reference document section. Once it becomes released or it has a released version of it, then that is the version that it is shown. So as you can see, even with that, that is something else to keep in mind, is that because it has life cycles, it also has the ability to go through promotion processes, release processes, which also means they can be a part of change processes as well. So by going in and specifying those and those life cycles, it has the ability to go through the entire life cycle, just like a CAD file would if you're working with CAD. Now, as a subnote, any object other than CAD can be created as a document. So a lot of people, I get the question sometime, what type of files can we store in Windchill? And I tell people, any type of digital file can be stored in Windchill. So whether it is an Excel file, a Word file, PowerPoint, PDF, a JPEG, a movie file, a zip file, you name it, it can be added as a document type, to a document inside of Windchill. So any electronic file can be stored in Windchill. If it's not a CAD file or it doesn't fit into the CAD category, then we can always store it inside of a document and still be able to go through and maintain the revisioning and control its release process inside of Windchill. So just something to keep in mind when you're going in and assigning or wondering what type of documents you can, or type of objects you can store in Windchill. Okay, so at this point, we'll go ahead and jump into the demo. All right, so the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up Word. All right, so I can come in here and just start with a blank document and go in and create and say this. There we go. This is a document that I want to put in Windchill. There it is. So there's my document. Now, what you will see, normally this is just where we stop, we save it, it saves to our hard drive. But what we have is oh, sorry, let me back up just one level. Inside of Windchill, in order to get this is desktop integration that I'm showing you right now. In order to access desktop integration in Windchill, there is this option under quick links that says software downloads. Under software downloads, there is this desktop integration area. You would then download that, and when you install it, it then links itself to Office. So right now I'm just showing you I'm just showing you Word, but it also links up to PowerPoint, it links up to Excel, it even links up to Outlook. Now, what you will see is when you go into your options inside of Word, when you look at the add-ins, you will then see Windchill. And you can see down here where the software is as far as the installation on your computer. At that point, you would then come over here to the Windchill area. And actually, just for the demonstration, I'm actually going to go ahead and back out of this. And I should have done that initially. So close that. Don't save it. So I'm going to back out. So what we will do is inside of Windchill, now it's acting funny, I apologize. It is trying to connect to my Windchill. What just happened? There it is. Oh, it is now not acting properly. Should not have disconnected. It's a demo. Something has to go wrong in a demo, right? I don't know what's going on. There we go. All right. So for some reason, it's not connecting. I apologize. Not sure why it is grayed out now. But we will continue because, as I mentioned before, Word is not the only thing that is connected to. It is also connected to Excel. But now it's not showing. Way to go, Michael. Way to go. I just logged in. There we go. All right, so we're back up. All right, so inside of this server, it connects me to my Windchill server. So wherever your data is stored, so the same way I was just showing you the Windchill folders, this is the Windchill that is connecting to. So just like if you're familiar with Creo, I'm not sure if everybody on here is just dealing with Word documents, but if you're familiar with Creo, when you go through and you register the server, that's exactly what you're doing here inside of Word or Microsoft Office products. You're registering the server to validate your connection to the actual server. So once we go in and do that, at this point, if we have a new document that we're creating, so once again, I had this document that said this is a new file that I want to store in Windchill. Right now, this is just being stored locally on my computer. So I can come over here and just do my regular save and save it locally. If I want to now store this in Windchill, I can go in and say, okay, I want to create this as a new document. So save this. And what this is doing is it's now coming in, because I said I want to create a new document, specifying where I want to put this. So I'm going to go ahead and just store it at the top level. And then what type of document do I want it to be? So as I mentioned before, there are many subtypes that are available. Do I want to create this as an agenda? Do I want it to be just a general document? Do I want it to be a presentation or even a reference document? This one I'm going to go in and specify, sorry, I meant to say a general document. And then I can give it a name, I can give it a description, and I'm just going to say, instead of it using the title of it, I'm going to go in and say general document. And then once again, I'm just going to store it at the top level for right now. So this also gives me the option of saying keep this checked out. So if I am going to go in and make changes to this, I can go in and keep it out, and of course keep the document open. So if I want to keep it checked out as well as keep it open, I would go in and select both of those, but I don't. So I can go in and say finish. It's actually processing on my other screen. And now that file has now been saved. It's closed. And now when I come back over into Windchill and I go to my folders, the top level, there is my general document. So at this point, that document is now stored in Windchill. If you go in and look at that file, excuse me, you can see the information. You can see, of course, there's no structure to it, but you can see the content of it being my actual document. Now, I also have the ability to go through and add attachments to this as well. Now, an attachment will be something you would add that is not going to be managed as a separate document type. It only is there in this area, which means if I went in and said, okay, there's an image that I wanted to go through and associate with this because it was using it as reference. If I add it as an attachment, I will not be able to search by that attachment name. I will only be able to find it by finding this original document that the attachment is associated with. So attachments are not stored as individual files in Windchill. They're only stored as I said, attachments within the document that is associated. All right, so going back into Word again. Now, if I wanted to go through and break out that file again, I could come over here and select Open. And when I select Open, it's allowing me to go through and browse into Windchill. So although I'm showing you my Windchill window, from a user perspective, I never have to log into the regular Windchill browser to do anything. I can do everything that I need to do directly from the actual application. So I'm going to go browse to the products. Under products, there's MasterCard. And then, of course, once again, there is my general document. I'll come over here and open this. When I open it, it asks me, do I want to check it out? If I'm going in to check this out, to go in and make changes to it, or I'm looking at to go through and make changes to it, then I can go in and say yes, which I'm going to go ahead and do now. So it's going to check this file out to me. And then once again, I do whatever I want to do with it. I can go through, add additional line. This is another line of text. This will be the second iteration document. So I can have that in there. Add whatever I want to. At this point, I can just save. If I'm not ready to check it in, I can save it. Now, question that you may have is if I'm saving it and I'm not putting it into Windchill, where is it saving it? Glad you asked that question. Because what it's doing, it's just going in and it's using that same path that we had. So what it's doing is that path that we have inside of Windchill, which is into boundary. So our organization, or our org is boundary. Under boundary, we're going into a product. The product that we're going into is that car master copy. Underneath there will be that document that I saved. So what it does is it takes that file and it downloads it to my hard drive in this location so I can work on it. I can work on it, save it, work on it, save it, work on it, save it until I'm actually ready to check it back in. Now, when I am at that point that I have made all the updates that I need to make on this document, I can now go back to my Windchill tab and there's my check-in. So I can now come over and say, I want to check this file in. It comes up with this secondary dialog box, basically telling me where it's pulling that file from. And if I want to add a description for this check-in, it says, okay, this is the update. And then at that point, I can just go in and say check-in. Now, what it comes up with is because we want Windchill to control that file, we don't want to maintain a copy of this file on our local hard drive because we know how we are. It's already there. So I'm going to go ahead to my local hard drive and work on that without downloading the latest version from Windchill. So what it actually allows us to do, it allows us to go in and say, send that local copy to the recycling bin. So that way it automatically goes in and removes it from my local folder. So I'm going to leave this kind of up on the side so that you can see when I go in and say select, say okay, to go in and remove that, it's going in and it's actually going to do the check-in. Once again, there's a window on my other screen that is showing the actual process happening. I can't drag it because it just won't let me. You can see that it closes it here, and you can see that it automatically removed it from that folder on my local drive. So now if I want that file, I need to go in to Windchill and find that file again and go through the proper process to check it out because I want to make modifications to it. Or if you don't, but you're still going in and downloading it from Windchill to make sure that what you have is the latest and greatest. So that's important when you're going in and working inside of Windchill. So yeah, at any point in time, if I want to create a new document, if right now I say new, it's going to tell me, please open a file to create a document. So what it wants me to do is I'm not starting a file new here. I would start a file new here. Because when I go into Windchill and say new, now I'm going to associate it to a specific document type in Windchill. So I do all my work as I normally would, creating a new document here. And once again, once I'm ready to take this document and put it in Windchill, now I come in here, say new document, and associate it to the appropriate document type, whether it's minutes, presentations, whatever it may be. So that's here inside of Word. As I mentioned before, in my presentation, guess what? There's Windchill inside of PowerPoint. So for any of those documents, I can go in and now check in my PowerPoint and make this a presentation document. The other thing that we can also do is when we're going in and creating a new document through Windchill, we're also able to go through and specify a template. So let's just say, for instance, we have a default template for our presentations. When I go through and say, and I'll do it in just a moment, when I go in and say new document type being a presentation, I have the ability to download my default template, or there's a default minutes document, or whatever it may be for that particular document type. So I can go through and do that directly inside of Windchill. So with that, I'm going to go into Windchill, and this goes in and shows version 1 of that document. You can see that it has been updated to version 2. And if I go to history, just like your CAD files, I can see both versions of that file. So I can still bring down or download version 1 if I wanted to, as well as go in and download version 2, of course. Now, that brings me to something else really quickly. When you implement desktop integration into Word, one of the pop-ups that is going to show you that it's converting your download type to a DTI file, which it's basically telling you it's expecting you to only use desktop integration when you're downloading files such as Word files, Excel files, so on and so forth. So when you download it, it's going to have an extension of DTI. That is not necessarily what you want all the time. What it's able to do, I'm sorry, actually, if I go in and show you, I take that and say I want to download it. See, you can see right here, it's downloading a generic file called data.windchill desktop integration. So that's what the WCDTI stands for. It's a generic file, or basically an encrypted file, that once again is only supposed to be used through the desktop integration functionality. If that is not what you want, and you still want to be able to download a native Word file and so on and so forth, what you'll need to do is go into your preferences. So underneath quick links, my settings, preferences, under preferences, and this is setting it up for you as an administrator, or I should say, yeah, as an administrator, we can set that up and lock it so that although people may go in and download desktop integration, it won't override the setting. But what you're able to do is go in and specify the download mechanism. What it's doing by default, because I installed desktop integration, is it's now going and changing that to a WC DTI file. I will go through and now change this preference back to going and basically saying use basic browser functionality to download files. So once I do that, and I come back here again, and I do the same thing to download this document, it's now going to download the document as the document type. Now remember, this is just downloading it. I'm not opening this in desktop integration. I may be downloading this as a reference for something else. But normally, if I'm going in and want to make changes to it, I'm going to go through Word, Excel, whatever it may be, to open up the file so I have my full Windchill functionality inside of it or associated with it. Now, what I do want to also show you is if you do have documents that you want to get into Windchill, and maybe there's multiple documents, or you just want to go through and create a particular document without going into desktop integration, you just want to add it into Windchill, then what you're able to do as well is go in and specify the creation of documents. So I'm going to go into my documents folder that I've created, and inside of here, there's a default option for new document. So as I mentioned before, all the different document types that I want to go through and create. So I can come over here and say, oh, okay, let's create a minutes document. Now, in creating a document inside of Windchill, you have other options other than a local file, like your Word, Excel, whatever it may be. You also have the ability to go through and create a placeholder, which will go in and create a document, but it does not have content. It may be something that's going to be created later. I can also go through and create a document that is simply a link to a web page. Or I can go through and create a document that stores a zip file or some type of a zip file or external storage file. Now that is storing it as an actual zip file. So it's not extracting anything, it is storing that actual file type. So any of those I can go through and create. If I want to go through and say, okay, I want an actual URL, I have one for you. That's a nice one right there. PDSVISION on YouTube. Take that, copy that link, and now come in here and make that the actual link, and the label is going to be PDS YouTube. What do I want to call it? It's going to be called PDS YouTube. Great. So once again, if I had attachments, I would go through and do that, but I don't, so I'm going to finish that. And there it is. And you can see that the symbol that it gives it for the document is simply a URL. And it says, hey, open primary URL. I can select on it, and now goes in and opens up that page that you all should be bookmarking. PDSVISION. So this is once again a way of going in and storing, once again, just simply a URL and not a full document. So it may be good for vendor pages. It may be good for your specific pages, whatever it may be, you know, educational information, such as our YouTube. So we can have any of those things stored in an actual document. So that's the option here. Now, the other thing with these is, as I mentioned before, and some of these don't have specific attributes, but if they did, they would show the additional attributes down here that are specific to that object type. I'm trying to see if there is one. It doesn't look like I have any that actually have specific attributes associated with it, but we can go through and add those later. And the good thing is by adding it to the object type, it will still add it to the existing objects that are there. All right, so that's adding a single document. Oh, sorry. We also have the ability to go through, create new. There's that same new document. We also have the ability to go through and add multiple documents. So if there's more than one document that we want to upload at a time, we can do that. Now, the first thing that we're going to pick is what type of documents are we going to be creating. All of these are just going to be regular documents. Now, at this point, I can come over and just simply start to attach new local files by going in and browsing and finding the files. I can also, and I have multiple files available, I can also come over here and I'm going to pick multiple types of files, including the JPEG, and I'm going to simply take those and drag those over here. Now it's creating those different document types. You can see there's a JPEG, a PDF, and even a document. And it takes the name of each one of them. And each one of those is going to be just a regular document. Now, what you'll also notice is that you don't have a next to go through and add an attachment. So if you did need to add an attachment to this document, it would probably be best to go in and add it as a single document and then add the attachment there. Or after you create it, you can edit that document and then add the attachment to it. So it just depends on how you want to go through and do that. So at this point, once again, I'll select OK, and there are those document types. As you can see, it recognizes those extensions. So there's a JPEG, there's a PDF, and there's the Word. Now, one other option that we have is going in and creating a document. Now, this one is going in and uploading documents from a compressed file. Remember, one of the options for a regular new document is creating it from an external storage. So that is maintaining it compressed. What I'm doing with this multiple documents one is saying, take the files in my zip file and extract them, and now create each one as a single document. Now, what type of document do I want to create? Let's go in and create these as reference documents. Now, where's the file? I have a file here that I'm going to use, and I can once again, where'd it go? Okay, don't know why I did that, but that's okay. We're going to go in and Not sure what the flash was for, so I'm just going to browse to it. Demo data, and then there's this zip file here that I want to use. Open. There's a reference documents. And then once again, if I want to go in and add any comments, because it's immediately going to check the files in, whatever. And then at this point, I'm going to go ahead and say finished. Uh-oh. Don't know what it just did. There it is. It just extracted and created these documents from that zip file. So these are all created as reference documents, and they've all been created. So all these documents were in that zip file. It extracted the zip file and created individual documents of each one of those. So if you do have a lot of documents that you want to get into Windchill at one time, zip them up, drop them in. Once again, you're doing them as a single document type though, so be aware of that. So you can't go through and have one as minutes, one as presentations, so on and so forth. If you want to do that, then categorize them a little bit differently before you bring them in. Because once they're created, they're in there as that document type. All right, so one last thing I want to show you is I mentioned just a moment ago, or when we started, is being able to go through and add documents to WT part files. So one of the things that is beneficial with this is we can now go through and take documents that we have and begin to associate them with WT part files, which will also associate them with the related CAD files as well. So if I select on like this bracket seat WT part file, if I look at this, it's at the related objects tab. I already have a couple of documents in here. It also shows the CAD file that it's related to. So what I'm doing is helping organize. It says, if I look at this CAD file, it's going to show me the related WT part file, and also related to this WT part file are these other documents. So this one is, just a seat. It's an FEA results from the analysis of a bracket on the seat, and FEA analysis of the seat itself. If I want to go in and add a document that is already in Windchill, then I would select the green plus at either one of these locations. So if I come down here to a reference document and hit the plus, it first tells me that in order to do this, I have to check out this part file because I'm now going to modify it. I'm going to go in and say, okay. And now, keyword, don't really have one. But if you notice, the only type of document that it's showing me are reference documents. So it's only going to show me documents that were created as a reference document. Excuse me. So I can come over here and just select one. Let's do one of the ones I just created. You're going to say, okay. So now that document is now added to this WT part as a reference document. If I do the same thing over here and say add, once again, don't really have a name, star, it's going to show me all document types except for a reference document. So anything that is created as a reference document has to go in and be created, or sorry, added under reference document. All other document types can be added as a describe item. Now, if I don't have the document in Windchill yet, then I can come over here and select create new document. Now, once again, with this one, I still have the ability to specify the document, but if you look here, the one that is missing is reference. If I come over here and say I want to create a reference document, there is no other option. It's just going to create it as a reference document. So those specific document types are needed in those specific areas inside of the WT part. So just something to keep aware of, be aware of. Once again, as far as document functionality, they work the exact same way when you open them in Word or whatever it may be, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, they function the exact same way. It's just how they're related to the WT part that will make a difference inside of Windchill. But as far as editing wise, exact same functionality. So once again, just something to keep in mind when you're doing that. So if I go into this document, last thing I'm going to show is When you want to go through and work on it, you have some of the just default options. Of course, you can check it out. You can do a checkout and download. And then once again, you can check out and edit. The edit will allow you to upload a newer version of that file. And that's not using desktop integration through Word or Excel or anything like that. This is just using Windchill. So if you don't have desktop integration, you can still go through and manipulate the files by going in and saying, okay, I'm going to check this out. Sorry, I'm going to do a checkout and edit. And then at this point, I would go in and upload the new file. So I would go in and find the new file version that I want, upload it, and check it in. So I'm editing it without going through the Windchill tab of Word or Excel. So you still have the ability to do that. But once again, desktop integration is more seamless because you open it in Word, modify it in Word, and check it in from Word. You never have to go in and actually use the actual Windchill interface. You're doing everything from inside of Office. All right, at this point, I will open up the floor to any questions that you all may have. I haven't seen anything typed in there since I've been talking, so I don't know. Are there any questions on anything with desktop integration? Oh, and if you have Windchill, you have desktop integration. The newer versions of Windchill come with desktop integration. Okay, I will take your silence as there is no questions, and I did a wonderful job, and you guys understand this completely. Great. All right, but just so you know, if there are some things that you want more information about desktop integration, or just managing CAD files themselves, or just CAD files or anything, you can always reach out to us. All of our trainers, all of our presenters are certified trainers for CAD as well as some for Windchill, depending on what they're presenting. Training is also still available virtually, so we still offer virtual classes. We also offer in-center classes, and of course, we can come on site to do classes as well. For our full schedule of classes or even webinars, you can go to our website, PDSVISION.us, and then we'll go through and show that. You can even create a document that has a link to that if you want to. We already learned that. All right, so if you do want to get in touch with me directly, you can reach out to me, mwimberly at PDSVISION.us, and I can answer any technical questions that you have. If there are sales-specific questions, you can always reach out to sales directly at sales@PDSVISION.us, or as I mentioned before, go to our website to find out more information about us, what we have to offer. And of course, if you want to see any other webinars that we presented on CAD, Windchill, or other software that we offer, or even just how-to videos that we have out there, you can find us on YouTube at PDSVISION, and then we'll go through and link you to that as well. So thank you for your time, and have a great rest of your day.